This is the experience story that I shared at the Atlanta monthly ceremony in Atlanta on the second Sunday of December 2025. I think it was the 12th. I'm not sure. My name is Cynthia Lees, and I have recently been granted intermediate omitama. I'm so very grateful to Sugod, the Lees family ancestors, Squeenie Nushi-sama, Seishio-sama, Oshini Nushi-sama, my spirit guardians, members of the Atlanta Center, members of the Reno Center, where I received my first precious omitama on Sunday, October 18th, 2020, to my soul sisters and brothers from the Daily Joy of Morning Prayer call hosted by fellow Kumite or Sukyo Mahikari members, my family, and those in my life who supported my journey to the 47th Intermediate course in the North American region. With everyone's help, on Sunday, September 28th, 2025, I gratefully and tearfully accepted my elevated intermediate omitama. I'm so grateful for the new, stronger light with the awareness that the light I offer is not for me or the recipient, but for the entire world and universe. Since elevating omitama, I have been blessed with further opportunities to share this wonderful gift. Already, starting with the way home from intermediate course, I was allowed to offer light to several people. On Monday morning in the airport, I exchanged point number 8, also known as the main soul or forehead point, with my roommate for the course, who has gone off camera. Okay, she's left. Another newly elevated candidate before we parted ways. When I later got off my plane, I thought about the 4-hour drive back home in the mountains of Kentucky and decided to first seek out someone else that I could give light to. I decided to call my friend, who graciously accepted. I went to his house and saw that he was not home. But then he pulled up right behind me, chauffeured by a young woman whom I did not know. I joyfully greeted her with, "May I offer you light?" And without knowing what that was, she accepted. I was able to offer light to the main soul, to both of them. Before starting the car again, I prayed for safe travels and to spread God's light over the traffic roads and lands through which I would pass. Raising my hand for the 4-hour drive home, I was so grateful to be carrying a meal for the Lees family ancestors. They got served after midnight when I arrived. My next set of experiences is related to travels I made around October 11th. After receiving my secondary omitama in September 2025, I journeyed to the D.C., Maryland, Virginia, DMV area for a Getting Related or networking event with some online colleagues from Landmark Worldwide. The planned event at the beach was for residents of the DMV area, but I offered that I would travel from Kentucky to join them, also in hopes to offer divine light to attendees. Initially, Google predicted nearly 10 hours of travel, which I expected would end up being a little more due to breaks. I took an hour's nap in a rest area from 2 to 3 in the morning, and then around 4 in the morning, in the middle of nowhere outside of Lexington, Virginia, my check engine light came on. I was forced to make another stop, and I checked my tires, but I could not identify any issues. Mysteriously, the warning light turned itself off, so I continued along my way. Later that morning, I got on a daily 7 a.m. call with colleagues where we typically create possibilities or set intentions for the day. I created and shared a possibility for myself and my life of service with a smile and spreading light and love, and requested prayer for continued safe travels from the listeners on the call, stating that I was bound for a relatedness event and had experienced a check engine light earlier. When I stopped at 9:30 in the morning to use the restroom, I also checked my messages. My earlier request on the call for prayer at 7 a.m. had caused a friend, Sujatha, to reach out, saying that she was in Virginia. She had heard my request for safe travels and asked if she could help me in any way. She was nearby, but was not going to be at the relatedness event in the afternoon because of a schedule conflict. I explained that my whole purpose for attending, my mission in life, was to spread the light, and asked her, "May I offer you light?" She asked where I was, and then she gave me an address, and I met her an hour later outside of a Whole Foods in Springfield, Virginia. I was buzzing and babbling from having been 16 hours on the road. Before I even offered her light, she became interested in, "What's that thing you're talking about doing tomorrow?" I'd been saying I was coming to offer light, but I was motivated because the next day was the monthly ceremony in DC, and the power of attending a ceremony with the Holy Ghost Shintai and other members was so amazing. Before ever receiving light, Sujatha was already committed to attending the ceremony the next day. We sat outside this busy Whole Foods with people walking past. My friend received 10 minutes of number 8. I offered both the Amatsu Norigoto prayer and the Chore prayer. When we concluded, I said, "Thank you for allowing me to offer you divine light." I was floored when Sujatha replied, "How can I offer you this light?" This led to the conversation where I explained details to her about the primary course and suggested that she connect with someone at the DC Center the next day. I ultimately arrived at the relatedness event 18 and a half hours after leaving home. At the event, I was able to offer light to several individuals, and in the evening I joined an outreach event at a yoga studio conducted by the DC Mahikari Center and was able to give light to people there as well. On the following day, on Sunday, October 12th, I missed the monthly Thanksgiving ceremony at my home center in Atlanta, but instead I attended the monthly ceremony in DC with several guests, including one that was only 9 years old. During that ceremony, Hossa Roberts recognized the many DC members who had recently received intermediate Omitama following the intermediate spiritual development course in September. I was able to be acknowledged for being among them. After the ceremony, I met with my guests, my colleagues, Sujatha and Jose's son, Christian, for lunch at the Thai Pod restaurant next door to the center, where Bruce McBarnett, the DC expansion coordinator, joined us to expand on the conversation about light opportunities available in their respective areas in the greater DC area. To this day, I keep in touch with my guests, helping them on their journey to giving light themselves. Finally, I would like to share about how my ongoing relationship with the community in Nashville. Previously in September, when I went to California for the intermediate course, I asked to park for free in fellow Kumite Holly Bruce's driveway while I flew out of the Nashville airport. I called towards the end of October about using her driveway again on my way to Japan for Autumn Grand Ceremony, and she was delighted to hear that in the time since we last saw each other, she was approved for another light event. So each time I have parked in her driveway, it has coincided with an event where she can borrow the light sign that I have in the back of my car. All the cars there. Then I checked with my pastor, who also lives in the area. I served as his assistant for 12 years before moving to Kentucky 3 years ago. He, my pastor, has been enthusiastic about receiving light for a while, and I make an effort to offer him light each time I pass through town, including when I was returning from the intermediate course. But when I called this time, he wasn't answering his phone. Eventually, I texted and spoke with his wife, learned that he was in the hospital and had been for over a week, cleansing from a fall, and was told that he was seeking to receive light. As my prior experience with him was that he never wanted visitors in the hospital because he was there to heal, I was appropriately impressed to hear his request for light. When I went to visit, my pastor also had 2 visitors, one being his wife and the other a longtime colleague, Joseph, who was the brother of a late friend of mine, the former church sexton. Joseph asked about the light I had offered to the pastor and asked to receive light. I'm grateful to have offered light with the Chore, given him a green pamphlet, and connected him via text message with Carol Murray, another Kumite residing in Nashville. Then perhaps because Joseph showed so much interest, the pastor's wife agreed to receive light for the first time. My experience of her in the past, when I brought light to church events, was almost of shepherding her grandchildren past me, avoiding this strange practice. I was grateful for the opportunity and offered her forehead point without the Chore. I hope to steadily continue sharing the light with my pastor and others whenever I get the chance to be in Nashville. I am pleased to say that Joseph has since then attended Holly's Light Circle. So while I was gone that weekend, he received it, whatever day this was, whenever we flew to Japan. And then that next weekend, he brought his wife to Holly's. So that was, somebody else. And he's like a second level Reiki master and other kinds of master. So he was very interested. Since September, I'm grateful to be thanking people for having received light for the first time and to reassure them that even if they had no profound experience, the light energy served everyone connected to them by a spiritual cord, whether in the physical realm or beyond. I thank them for their service to that cause and ask how I can connect them with more opportunities to receive light again. I'm grateful to Izuname-sama for the power of connecting on the internet, where I'm inspired by joining discussions such as the Atlanta Great Virtues Call on Saturday mornings, the monthly Golden Teachings Call out of Houston, and the weekly Origins Call out of the LA Chudojo, studying the Goseigen, when I can be awake for 90 minutes beginning at 9:30 p.m., for prayer, harmonization, and expansion calls, including the daily Joy of Morning Prayer Call, the Saturday afternoon North American Harmonization Call, and the monthly expansion discussion group. My connections online, in courses, and with fellow kumite allow me inspiration and guidance for further service, as well as an invitation platform. I am beginning to guide others online and have a group forming for the purpose of accountability. When, where, and how are they planning to receive light, visit a center, speak to staff, and plan to take the primary course so that they too can spread God's light in the world and work toward the realization of the divine plan. My many experiences keep me connected as an out-of-town member and inspire me to strive harder in my service to God. The lessons along the way have been humbling. Thank you, Su-God, founder and holy masters, ancestors, and spirit guardians who made it possible for me to participate in the intermediate course. I pray that I may make you proud and serve you well as I participate in the divine plan and seek to guide many others to become part of the 10,000 God-centered, light-centered leaders who are changing the world to one of true light. December 14th, 2025, representative of all Atlanta members, Cynthia Lees. Thank you.